Hello YouTube viewers, welcome to my channel Science to Technology. In today's show, Camera Tuesday, we're going to talk about what is missing in camera 2024. So let's dive deep into it. So what exactly I'm talking about? I'm talking about something that all of you are feeling right now, especially if you are buying a camera recent times, and why the heck the experience is not as good as it should be. Well, the first is cost. As of now, camera costs are growing exponentially, and the growth from camera A to camera B is not exponential anymore. Basically, when A7 Mark III was released, it was a game-changing camera for $2,000. It was like, whoa! It almost put Sony on the map, quote unquote. But here's the deal: when Mark IV was released, the price went $500 up. Now, has inflation been that bad? Not really. Like, it's bad, but not that bad. But on top of that, was that really like whoa? Like, of course, it has flip out screen, but here's the anybody who knows logistics and engineering, it's like that's not the expensive part. That was just like you letting go of your ego and just like, okay, let's just people want it, let's just give it. So it's reaching a point where people are noticing and feeling it in their wallets is that mirrorless body alone is becoming painful, meaning camera was always an expensive equipment, and I mean back in the days of these puppies, which for me is few months ago. So camera is always expensive, let that be very clear. But recently the idea is shifted from very expensive lenses and cheap camera body to like very expensive body and very expensive lens. So that's becoming way too painful. Now the worst reason why this is happening, of course, companies want to maximize their profit, but they are not that stupid, whereas like we just want to maximize profit. Dude, your sales will go down. We just want to maximize. Dude, you will go bankrupt. We want to maximize profit. Yeah, one company went bankrupt. So it's not that. The reason is of their stupidity. The stupidity came from fragmentation. Way too many goddamn models are there. Now allow me to simplify. This was an issue in the film era. Basically, this was the first quote unquote successful standard, which was 120mm film. Now problem with this was, while this was a film, while it did work for almost a century, one of the longest running film format, still you can buy it right now. Problem was that framing in the film was not fixed, meaning you can buy a camera like the camera that I used for this. I could literally replace the frame guide and replace the cog wheel, and it will, instead of putting 4 photos in each slice, it will put around 3 photos. And there was some panoramic camera, same roll, where it could literally be 1 photo like this. So how the heck that happened? Well, the roll was there, but lenses were not standardized and the ratios were not standard. But to fix the problem of this, a new format was invented, which you may know is this puppy, 35mm full frame. Now this solved all the problems. And why the heck it solved it? Not only it standardized everything and had a sprocket wheel, so advancing became very reliable and very easy, it also guaranteed the format has to be fixed so people can manufacture lens, so you can jump from one lens to another lens. And it saved the camera industry. Basically, it allowed it to grow, spread out its wing. That's how disposable camera became a thing. So limitation, basically they limited the film in such a way, constrained. Of course, this is basically this is inferior compared to medium format, but in every scenario in terms of usability, this is godsend. And it's the sole reason why we have camera industry the way that we do, because the same role, people were like, hey, we are using like this, that's awesome. But somebody was like, hey, what if we use like this? That's how we got movie camera. If you hear like movie 35mm is smaller, that's the reason. Instead of ta ta ta, it's like ta ta ta. So but you understand, like once it became standardized, it was like shipping container. It saved the world. It's awesome. But some people did experiment with APS-C, different roles. Some allowed to use this system itself, and were like, what if we had half of it? It did not work that very well. APS-C was there in negative era, but it was not successful, but it died out. But introduced the new technology of sensors. Now, biggest problem with sensor was the sensor itself. In the early days, let that be very clear. Early days, what was bankrupting you was the sensor, not the SoC of that time. That was not that expensive. The sensors were like brutal. Now, what the brutal part is not the fact that sensors were expensive, is the yield rate was horrible in early 90s, meaning the cameras that we started, like the floppy drive cameras and all that, the yield rate on the sensor, CCD sensors, were not awesome. Meaning you could have like, hey, I have this silicon disk, I'm etching all that, just awesome. And then you're like, okay, it has 15 sensors. Okay, you break them, now you test that, you're like, find out 5 of them are dead or have defective, too much defect. So yield rate was horrible. So to maximize yield, people came up with the idea, what if it's made a smaller sensor? Now that worked for awesomely, it worked for handycams, but for photography, people were like, yeah, not how the heck we gonna work. Then APS-C was revived. This came to be. So this whole idea came because of the fact that yield rate on silicon was too goddamn unpredictable. Now, I do not blame companies for jumping into this abomination simply because they had to plan for 30 years ahead. How would they know? How would, even if I were there, how would I know? Like if I had time machine, of course, I know, hey, don't waste time on APS-C, just go with full frame. Yeah, it will be expensive. But trust me, in future, sensor would be the cheap part, but the SoC that goes behind it would be the expensive part. So yeah, it was one of those things that nobody would have anticipated how quickly basically sensor technology became like, whoa, expensive to like, who cares? So that happened. So APS-C was literally a stopgap measure. That's why APS-C DSLRs came first before the full frame one. But once the yield became like, good and maximized, they never abandoned this thing. This thing's supposed to be a stopgap. They're like, we can use it for cheap now. It's no longer cheap. You must know the fact that Fujifilm, Canon, Sony, Nikon, if you buy any quality APS-C camera, it's almost as the same price as full frame. And be mindful, full frame could actually be cheaper. It's just the reason why they are not selling it cheap is simply because it's like it will intersect. Heck, right now you can buy a flagship APS-C from Canon and the same price you have a good full frame. And full frame is always better. Why? Lenses are better. Why lenses are better? They've been working for 1 century, my man. 1 century, every manufacturer refined this one asset. Thou shall make quality lenses. And that's why like APS-C was always the abomination. It was like the sole reason it was created is like to save money on silicons. Okay, that's no longer applicable. Now what's the expensive part? SoC. You still have to put a quality SoC. If you put quality SoC, you'll be like, hey, oh, now I get it why GS5 Micro Four Third was more or less same price as A7 Mark III. Because again, it had a really good SoC, no denying that. But again, tiny sensors, hyper expensive SoC. You see, the tables have flipped. So that created an issue. So only way to salvage camera industry as of now is we have to let this go. We have to just like stop, just no. And we're like, it's cheaper. No, trust me, I can guarantee you full frame can be cheaper than this. Is the sole reason it's not is simply because companies are like stuck where they're like, like if we can make it cheaper, like Canon RP is very cheap. Heck, R8 is also very cheap. R8 or 9. Yeah, one of them is also very cheap. They can make a very cheap one. It's just like, it will intersect with APS-C series. That's why it's not, prices are not coming down. So they can easily abandon this. And you can see that even Fujifilm was like, yeah, APS-C is not going to work out. And because they realized very early on is that, hey, this good in cost, not in quality. Great in quality, medium format. So what Fuji did is like, hey, why fight in full frame? There are so many people fighting in it already. They jumped to medium format, basically bit smaller sensor size compared to this, but exponentially larger than 35. So that's why they went from XFX to GFX. That's their majority profit point. Every company realized that. It's like, that's why all camera manufacturers, even Panasonic, yeeted from Micro Four Third and went into this. Like economics did not work. It's like sensor is cheap and we are putting expensive SoC and people are like, dude, awesome, but the lenses are not there. Micro Four Third had that a big issue, and same issue with this. All the Sony, Nikon and Canon is like, look at their flagship lenses. They are all full frame. We have been doing it for 1 century. So abandoning this lineup will reduce cost exponentially, reduce the R&D cost, reduce the inventory cost, reduce the employment requirement, all of it exponentially cheaper. That's how savings can come to us. On top of that, simplify model offering. I have no idea like how the heck Samsung manager got here. It's like Samsung manager has this brain damage where it's like, what if we released 44 models per year? Yeah, all of them would be garbage. Same here, it's like so many models there, dude. There is only two vector, science-based vector. First vector is if your SoC is the limiting unit, which right now it is, you're gonna have two sensor option. A, very low megapixel, super high readout speed, very high megapixel, slow speed. So you can have two parallel tracks where it's like high megapixel slow, low megapixel fast. That's it. There is nothing more than that. Like what video and all that's like nothing more than that. It's all about the SoC. And you can see that especially in Sony, it's like, hey, same SoC is going down to A7C. Heck, even some APS-C, A6700 also has the same SoC. How the heck you have feature limitation? No, you don't. What you are doing is artificially limiting it. That's what frustrates me though, the artificial limitation, where it's like this camera from, I don't even know how long ago, Canon 800D, when it was launched, I bought it. It has all IE in recording. Then Canon releases R series and many of them, they remove that. Why? It was intersecting. It's like this ancient camera had better functions than the latest one. That arbitrary feature sets and like weird limitation, it's painful. Like right now, if you want to figure out a camera, you have to do a spreadsheet. You have to like literally sit down. Like it's difficult, painful, like which camera to select. And that's why costs are going up. So fundamentally, let go of APS-C lineup, accept full frame, and just reduce the model offering. Just have few good one and clear ones. It's like, hey, money go up, quality goes up. Money splits. You choose speed or you choose resolution. Done. And once you figure out the SoC, you can have an ultimate flagship where it would be next generation SoC. Whereas like, no, now I can do both. But again, if you can do both, it will always reach a point where it's like, hey, can silicon manufacturer can reach a higher megapixel and higher speed? You'll always have the same thing. So this is the cost part of it. Very expensive, very painful. Now, this is my personal pain with all camera manufacturers, and most of you must have experienced this. Like something feels off about camera. Cameras are expensive. Like even a Nikon Z9, it's expensive and does not feel like latest. It feels like okay. It feels like camera. It's like why? And here's the new cameras are launched regularly, so it's not the era of Nikon D3100 remained in the market for so long. It's like, dude, we are releasing cameras like bam, bam, bam. But all of the cameras are stuck in 1980 VCR technology. Yes, I am old enough. Yes, I have used VCR. I'm not from 80s, but like, you know, we used to tape Doordarshan on VCR. So I know about VCR. Like the personal painful part for me is the file naming convention. Now let this be clear. Since I do work with electronics, I do have understanding. Like back in the days of A90s and early 2000s, microcontrollers had limitation. Meaning if you wanted a microcontroller that can handle bigger file names, it would have required you more money. Now it is that limitation had passed. Long ago it has passed. But here's the deal. We still have software that writes the name on the firmware basically based on that logic. It's like there is no need for it. But it's like, what if we use the 1980s technology, man? It's like, what if we created garbage? It's like how the file naming should be right now is this: year, as in like 4 digits of year. Then you have month, 2 digits of month, then 2 digits of date, and then you have hour in 24-hour format, in minutes, seconds, and millisecond. Now millisecond would trigger the moment it detects there is already a second already present. Like let's say second number 1 is there and you are in burst mode. Now it will like, okay, second 1 instead of going to second 2, which again time has not passed yet, it will like second 1 dot millisecond. Now how many milliseconds are there from computer's point of view? 6 digits. More than enough. More than enough. Trust me. You're not gonna reach a camera where it's gonna be like stills photo wise. Like you can have a high-speed camera which has million frame per second, but from a stills camera point of view, even 120 frame per second, millisecond is like, bitch, I got this. I got this. I have more than enough zeros here to take care of it. You don't have to worry about it. And then you would have a suffix. Prefix is before, suffix is later. This has to be the first thing, so your file never breaks organization, even if you strip the metadata layer, which many times you want to do strip metadata layer, but it will still stay intact. And then you can have like, you know, suffix where you can like, hey, I'm shooting this client wedding. You can literally type in client. This is the client name, like client very rich, client name very poor. You can put that and there's just chill. But no, what do we have? MOV, AVX. It's like, we crossed 1980, man. That era passed long ago, my man. My cheap ass microcontroller can do better. It's like, let it go. Let 1980 go. Like GPS is not standard. GPS was very expensive. Let us be very clear. But it was available in Nikon D3400. If I'm not mistaken, 3200 also might have had that. But you get the point. Like it was not expensive. And GPS can do amazing things. What? It can have time sync. Now, is there any camera that does that? Yeah, one hyper expensive Z9. Now, to give you a context of how low power and small and cheap this technology is, you can buy solar watches from Seiko that has solar and GPS and analog watches. It's cheap and it will give you perfect time. Why? GPS is the world time. Like what time is happening? GPS time. GPS is the one where all the world's atomic clock gives data to GPS. GPS is the one distributing it to planet wide. Universal time coordinate. All you do, you have one accept data, universal time coordinate. Second, your time location. As in case of India, it would be like 5 hour 30-minute plus. If you are in Australia, this would be plus and minus 4 hours or 6 hours or whatever have you. But we don't have that. Like this should be easy. This should have been like, we got this, man. In 2015, we got this. This is done. Not in 2025. This would be like, it should be default. Wristwatches has that, man. It's there. And here's the all these cameras, like we can do 4K, we can do 6K, we can do 8K, we can do RAW. I'm like, how about you do time code? How about you do freaking time code? And let this be very clear. The sole reason we have so many news agencies and all that jazz is because somebody figured out time code in 80s. It's like time code was necessary, only then you can have synced production. Of course, they went above time code, they went to genlock, but if you're shitting yourself in time code, genlock is way too far ahead. So now even action camera manufacturers like, hey, what if you had few of them? What if you wanted to sync audio? What if you wanted to do things with it? It's like time code. Time code is available in more action camera than it is available on mirrorless cameras that are costing exponentially more. It's like this ancient, man. I get it. In 1980, you could not do that. Now, action cameras that are quarter of the price, fifth of the price, 1/10 of the price, doing that. What is your excuse? And display. Oh my God. This part I can agree with. These things may require. I don't see the point. Display, you do see the point. It's horrible. And how do you know it's horrible? They count in arbitrary units. Dots. For example, if you say 2.1 million dot, people give orgasm. It's like, oh, million, big number. But here's the reality is 1024 multiplied by 680. And like, wait a minute, 680 is small. Yeah, it is small. Sorry about that. 680 is very small compared that to a phone, iPhone 15. Now again, let this very clear, Androids already have the same resolution or someone even higher. 2796 multiplied by 1280. Now if you know the resolutions, you will understand fundamentally it's exponentially bigger. Now in dots, 10.8 million dots. Sony released, if I'm not mistaken, around 2018 of Android phone that had 4K display. That would have been like around 15 million dots or even higher than that. So you see, that's why they are counting in dots, because it's retarded. It's like, it's horribly bad. It's like, I get it, in 1980s, I get it. That's LCD was coming in. You remember the Handycam LCD screen. That's what they are using. Still, I have no idea who the heck is manufacturing this. Like right now, you can buy a cheap ass smartphone, Android smartphone that has exponentially better screen compared to a super expensive camera. And if you ever wanted to repair it, look at the price, you'll be like, are you freaking kidding me? Like, I think these are expensive because companies are like, what if we are retard, What if we do some stupid shit? What if we custom ordered a retard screen? It's like the pixel density. I'm pretty sure there has to be a custom brand that is just spinning up this low megapixel details, as in like low PPI displays. It's way too low. It's like, who counts in mil dots? Like, it's horrible. And again, all cameras are like, we can do HDR, we can do this, and we can do that. It's like, dude, how can I see it? Unless I connect it to a freaking TV, I can't see it. And here's the mobile displays have figured out HDR since 2015. This is all, we are reaching 2025 soon. That's the whole point. Like, painful display, painful ancient technology, no HDR, even though they are shooting HDR, which is the ironic part about it. It's just bad. And here's the there was a time between cassettes and CDs and MP3 players. There was a slot. That slot was taken up by MD player. Now, MD player was not very popular in USA, so many people may not know, but it was GG in Japan, GG somewhere else also, and European Union. They were going YOLO on it. Now, this was a digital medium before CDs became a thing. So companies figured out, hey, we have digital medium. What if we had the ability to transfer audio from one digital medium to another digital medium without conversion? So you do not have gain noise and preamp noise, nothing, just clean audio, crisp, clean audio. It's like, you're like, hey, sounds good. That's the point of digital. And they invented optical audio transfer. If you have seen CDs and VCRs, and even VCRs have the SPDIF audio output, that's optical audio output. They had it in a battery power device from 1998. By 2005, it was a basic feature, like every MD device had that optical transfer. Your camera, hyper expensive camera, still is like, but what if we had garbage? What if we are like, hey, like for example, this converts basically my audio to digital signal right here. Awesome. Transmits it digital. Awesome. Then the transmitter, basically the receiver on the camera, has to convert it into analog signal. Then had to send it to camera. Camera will preamp it, what we call preamp circuitry, basically convert it into, amplify it, convert it into digital, and then store it. We had better technology in 1990, my man. It's like, this is the frustrating part. It's like, life would be so much easier if you just had digital audio transfer. Everything would be exponentially easier. Like, there was an ecosystem in early days of DSLR videography. It's simply because audio was so important and so painfully ugly in DSLRs. They had preamp circuitry that will boost the audio so much that it will suppress the noise of the ugly preamps. We still have that issue. I'm like, dude, just digital audio transfer. Heck, I'm like, What if you want to have USB multi-channel audio? Imagine a world where you have an audio deck that is like pro level Zoom H4 or whatever have you, and then it just transfers audio via USB. Here's the deal. Many action cam can actually do that. Right now, many action cams can accept USB audio. Not multi-channel one, but audio. Just done. Why does a ludicrously expensive camera does not do that? Like, this camera should be like, hey, we can receive 32-bit float, man. Like 4 channels. Put a camera, like we should not even have to worry about time code, like in simple shooting. Like you have audio receiver, transmit 32-bit file directly, multi-channel. It can be done, let me be very clear. I'm not talking about something expensive. It can be done by, let's say 2005. Yeah, that's how long ago we could have been done that. It hurts, like it physically hurts. Like, why do we have still analog transmission? Like, we are literally, engineers are wasting time. It's like, what if we had a good analog to digital converter? Dude, that's the most expensive part. Just let one of the be there. One here, good. Everything else be digital. So that's what hurts us. Like, that's why you feel cameras are like just camera. Now we come to the painful part. The reason why, even if you are into the hobby, even if you have the money, even if you can just put up with the issues, is that they are painful to use. That's why I can guarantee you will know way too many people who had bought DSLRs in early days and just kept it in a closet and forgot about it. Way too many. The reason for that was usability. Like, here's the deal. I'm not joking. This happened. Sony put touchscreen in camera. It's like, whoa, awesome. 5 years later, multiple models later, they released the new update on new camera, not old camera, new camera, touchscreen menu. They had touchscreen for almost, let's say 5 to 6 years, where you could not touch it. All it was there for is just like moving the focus point. I'm like, you put the hardware there. You can just move, just select the icons. No. It's like, every camera, even with this, I have this Canon 800D. It has touch screen, and I can, like, move things around. No, I can't. No, I can't. No, it's like, no. Just because you have touch screen does not mean they know how to use it. It's like, how is that possible in 2020? How? Like, how? Let this be very clear. Sony is very proud of this UI, and let this be very clear. This is not good, but the older one was horrible. If I, as a game artist, ever developed this sort of UI and showed it to my art director, he will fire RPG at my ass. Like, this is just painful. Like, who the heck came up with this? Like, even Linux has better GUI with this. It's like, that's how hard it is. And mobile apps, oh my god. Like, I love these companies where they're like, what if we F the customer, It's like, you have a mobile app, you're like orgasming, awesome. Wi-Fi file transfer is like awesome. You transfer the file, you have shot only in RAW, you transfer the file, you open the file, it's in JPEG. It's like, why? No, we cannot give you the function because we have to F you. It's like, why? I paid for the camera. I'm literally the copyright holder of that image. Why the heck you are literally blocking my ability to transfer the RAW files? Like, literally, even in this 800D, I can't do that. It's like, no, we have to block it. It's like, why? It's like, and you're like, oh, the files would be heavy. Let the mobile manufacturer worry about that. Let Google worry about that. You don't worry about it. You just transfer the file. Hey, you want to transfer the file? Transfer the heck. What if you just use it as a gateway to upload the file into the cloud? But it's like, no. And all application, I think Panasonic has bit better effort to put into it, but all other companies are like, oh my god, this is bad. Like, I'm not joking. In many Sony cameras, the only way to transfer a RAW file over Wi-Fi was you had to set up file transfer protocol that was literally made in 1980. Like, it's literally, and be mindful, you may be like, oh, it's Android problem. No. iPhone flagships also have this issue. It's like, it's horrid. It's like, nobody actually sat down. It's like, hey, what if we actually made it useful? Nah, man. What if we had garbage? What if we F the customer? It's really, really painful. And here's the you can't do anything at the back of the camera. Camera will not let you the ability to transmit files. You will not let you the ability to inject digital audio. You won't do all of those things. But you can't do any editing on the back also. It's like, this is a very ancient time. Before the iPod era to mobile phone era, there was a slot. That slot was what we call multimedia devices. Portable multimedia devices. So this was like a Chinese brand, JXT brand, a very cheap one, very cheap. In India, it was cheap. So it was very cheap one. It had better video playback functions, better video trimming. Let that sink in. This had the ability to actually had a camera, and you can even inject video signal from a TV, composite. Yes, this had composite input. You can put input and it will save it, and then you can slice it. I'm like, wow, imagine 2005 technology. Wow. That was available. back in the day, where you can just have the video file and here's the deal. Do you even remember how long ago this feature became basic bitch feature in all Android, all iOS? Like Telegram also has this function. It's not even a function of app itself. It's just like, yeah, it's a small thing. We trim the video file. You can't trim it. You can't cut it. You can't do anything. You can't even, like, let's say you have a slate and you were like, hey, I want the slate to be thumbnail. You can't even go there and thumbnail it. No. No. This technology is ancient. It should have been done in 2010. Easy. I'm being way too generous, but like, what if? That's the whole point. And menu navigation is just bad. Like, give you example. Blackmagic is a new camera company. You look at their interface and it's like, huh, somebody actually thought of it. It's like, hey, is the menus big enough you can to actually see it? What if you actually have to touch it? Your fingers will block majority of it. Can you still see it? Can you still get a feedback? Is the button on or off? Blackmagic, somebody put effort into it. Sony is like, you have numbers there. Dude, you don't have numpad. Why do you have numbers? Heck, if you wanted this alternate line should be in different color, it allows your eyes to easily track it. But they're like, what if we had all the same colors? I know this. Google Sheet knows this. Excel sheet knows this. If you have this many rows, you always alternate the colors. Bank statements know this. But they're like, what if we had garbage? That's why usability on smartphone, it's brutal. That's why I can guarantee many people will buy camera, use it, especially for the hobbyist kind, and they'll slowly keep it in the office and just forget about it. Now we come to the bitter part, is that anti-theft. The fact is that cameras are very expensive. They're very expensive investment. Even this cheap camera is very expensive for me. I'm not rich, so it's very expensive. And many of you could literally have a camera that is like lakhs and lakhs or thousands of dollars or $10,000 in terms of lens and all that jazz. So it's very expensive investment. On top of that, here's the ironic part. The camera is the cheap part. The expensive part is the data that is in there. Many times you have confidential data or expensive data. For example, let's say nude photographies, those are extremely confidential. If you're, let's say, people who like stealing it from you, they just started to upload that photos, you will get in trouble. And I do not mean lightly, I mean seriously. So the data are confidential. Many times of celebrity weddings, again, if those files are leaked, that will have penalty. Nude photography, model photography, product photography, all of those have penalty if you lose your equipment. And again, many times data are sensitive or time critical. Let's say you shot a perfect photo of a perfect sports moment and somebody stole your equipment. Bye-bye. Because again, they never invented the technology in 1980s to transfer over Wi-Fi. So we do not have that properly. So you see the point, that's brutally painful, where it's too expensive, too confidential, and there is no safety mechanism. Now here's the deal. Car industry used to suffer from this a lot. So car manufacturers and insurance agencies, they got together in the bed and they made a new puppy known as VIN numbers. And they made it so many places, and to make sure that if you are being sold a second-hand car, which is actually not a second hand but a stolen car, you will just look around the VIN numbers and like, hey, why do you have cut as welding here? Okay, maybe it rusted there. You look somewhere else. Okay, this VIN number is also missing. Yeah, this is a stolen car. Bye. It literally over time, as in like around 5 to 6 years, slowly started to reduce vigor, and better tracking slowly started to drop so low. Right now, the majority of car thieves are breaking your car, stealing things inside from there. It's like stealing cars are like amateur. Yeah, you can wirelessly steal your car, but it's like an amateur move because you won't be able to sell it. And parts inside them are not as valuable as anything, unless you have a mobile phone or camera. Most of them is installing camera. So, you have to understand. And same with smartphone. Early days, smartphone was being stolen left and right. But then they realized it's like, hey, smartphone have data that is valuable. How about we lock that shit? Now, once you started to lock it, now it's just no longer as easy to pawn it off. People are like, hey, this is not as profitable as we used to think. So, same point. It can be done. Like, it's very easy for a camera manufacturer to be like, hey, register the goddamn serial number. Today, I'm talking about cameras that have already been sold. So the moment you connect the camera or basically Lightroom file, it could literally have a serial number in the EXIF data, and you can just check it. If you buy a second-hand camera, you can just like, hey, let me check the EXIF data. If somebody else has uploaded, it's like, hey, this was my camera, and camera company already can keep a track of it. When you register for warranty, it's like, these two serial numbers are matching. Then you can say, hey, you got a stolen system. If you got it from Amazon, return it back. eBay, return it back. Or at least you will know. You can be like, hey, I was stolen. I'm not the thief. Because again, insurance company will fire missiles at you. So you have to have a way to check it. No technology. Like, So let this be very clear. If camera companies wanted to, if they're like, okay, let me get this, let me get on top of this, they can introduce modern fail-safe. For example, you put your eyes here, it can easily have a perfect retina display, which Samsung Note 9 had. It's a very small sensor. Which Samsung Note 9 had. It was a very small sensor. Because of this area, you can easily look into your eyeballs and be like, eyeball retina locked. Done. If somebody else steals it, puts it in the eyeball, camera locks up. It's like, bruh, not the authorized user. And again, there are people who do such a sensitive work, critical work. They're like, dude, they will lock that with pin number, with all that. But just like, no, we don't even have basic pin. That Sony, Chinese media device, yeah, they used to have pin numbers. So if somebody stole it, it's like it would be a bit uncomfortable. They may have to desolder it, or again, from child's play to steal to I have to put work into it. So modern safeguard could literally make these cameras so hard to basically steal that it would like easily steal. So let that be clear. They can of course steal it, but easy to steal would be go down so much. They're like, yeah, not worth it. Of course, it will not happen overnight. It may require like 5 to 10 years, but better than nothing. And serial number checking, this I have no idea. Back in the days, MI released a power bank in India, which was very low cost, so it got a lot of sales. And to counteract that, a lot of counterfeiter made something that looked exactly same, horrifyingly same, and they were started to sell it. And MI reputation started to take hit because counterfeit was garbage. So what MI did was a scratch card. It's like, hey, you scratch it, you get the serial number, you put it in the website, and they tell you it's like a valid, yeah, authentic or not. Easy peasy. If you repeat the number, it's like it was already verified. Easy. And again, Canon, like I hate Canon for this. It's like I have Canon's original battery which came with the camera, and the battery is old now. It's for some reason it throws up error. This one, battery communication error. Does the battery have Canon logo? Basically, it's trying to do a check, and if you say yes, it has, it will say it's a counterfeit and it shuts down. So it is really painful. I'm like, and again, I did bought a new battery, and I have no way of verifying it. I bought it from a trusted source, but how much did I do? Because the only one who knows that the battery is original or not is Canon. Canon has a serial number. And please do not go with hologram. There is a place in China known as hologram copy paste. You just go, give the hologram, they copy paste it. So, and again, who the hell is gonna study this? Serial number. You have serial number for this exact purpose. Track it. So, and again, it will have double benefit. Not only it will allow people to stolen goods to be checked by the customer, and you can be like, hey, you're getting something for too cheap, please check it. So, and counterfeiting will also be stopped, not eliminated, let that be very clear, but it will be stopped. And if you have true random number generator rather than a serialized numbers, yeah, good luck. So there are a lot of things that can be done, but they are not done in 2024. I'm pretty sure by 2025 also it may not have been done. So this was my presentation on what is still missing in cameras in 2024. Hopefully you have liked it, learned from it. In that case, please click the like button, share it amongst your friends. That will help me a lot. If you didn't like it, didn't enjoy it, I urge you to press dislike, press it twice to show me extra disappointment. Please leave a comment because I do try to reply to all of them. Subscribe, press the bell icon if you're free. And as always, thanks for watching.